Clapboard is one of the most ubiquitous materials on a structure kit. It's probably the most common material used other than brick, and it could also be one of the most challenging. We're calling this method number 354 simply because there are an infinite number of ways you can go about weathering clapboard. This is just one of them. So of course there are lots of ways you can go about weathering clapboard. Again, this is just one of them. This one's a little darker. It's a little more rich in color because we're using some oil paint, but it's a good way to pull out the detail that we put into it with nail holes and lifted boards. So let's just give this a try.
So the first thing we need to do is add rows of nail holes. Now this is optional, of course. In theory, you wouldn't see nail holes in HO scale, perhaps, but it's just a stylistic technique more than anything else. So it is optional. To do it, you need a pounce wheel, which is a wheel with little points on it, as you can see here. And I'm using a straight edge ruler, a stainless steel straight edge. But it can't be a ruler with a cork back that raises the ruler off the surface. To work well with the pounce wheel, it needs to be just a piece of stainless steel. Now, of course, you could measure the spacing between the vertical rows of nails. I generally just eye it and kind of work around the openings. So again, this is an optional thing. It's a stylistic thing. Choose to do it however you like. But at least just make sure they're parallel. Now we can take an X-Acto knife and make some vertical cuts. This would indicate the end of each piece of clapboard. You don't have to do every single row, make it kind of random, as you can see here, and just go across the whole wall in a random fashion. So now, let's take a regular straight edge razor blade and we can start lifting these boards. So just gently slide the blade under each clapboard and lift them. Again, this is a random kind of look. It's not supposed to be done with every single board, though the more you do, the better it will look. So now we can switch to our X-Acto knife. We could use the knife to make more splits, but we can also make these more angled cuts to give the clapboard a little bit more character. And we can go back to lifting them again and cutting and splicing here and there until we get a really weathered, distressed look. Now we can apply a black wash using alcohol and India ink. And it just gives the wood a darkened, weathered look. And if we paint over this and we were to see any of the natural wood, it would kind of kill the illusion. So this is an overall stain just to block everything out that looks like natural wood. Once this dries thoroughly, we can apply our color. I'm using acrylic paint and I'm using very little paint at all. It's almost like dry brushing. I'm probably using about 50% of the paint on the brush and very little pressure with my hand. And I'm just skimming across to get a first coat. I don't want to obliterate the wood showing through completely, so that's why I'm using this light brush stroke. Now I'm applying the same color to some 16th inch square corner trim wood that we'll use later. So this is the step where we can finally give the clapboard some real character and some rich color. I'm using lamp black artist oil paint and I'm thinning it with mineral spirits or turpentine. This is a technique my friend Lauren Hendricks uses, a variation of it. And you'll see that it brings out all the nail holes and all the lifted boards and little cracks that we've made. And it doesn't go away. Usually when you use acrylic water-based paint, it'll close up the holes. This way we can preserve all that detail and the wall has a lot more texture to it. It's always good to file the edges of the wall with a small jeweler's file just to give it some bite for the glue. And you'll also see I'm knocking some of the clapboard off. They're falling off, which isn't a bad thing. Just save those small pieces and we're going to add them back later. Now we can add our corner trim using some white glue. I like to use Alien's tacky glue. It dries very quickly and it's pretty strong for a white glue. Just put a small amount on the edge of the wall. And always cut the corner trim a little bit longer than you need, and we'll cut it flush after it's on. Now this overall technique is not a dry brushing technique for the wall, but I'm going to use some dry brushing just to highlight these boards that are popping off the wall. They'll stand out just a little bit with just a small amount of white paint.
So there it is, another technique to weather clapboard walls. If you do give it a try, please let us know in the comments below how it goes. And if you like the video, give us a like, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.